ask her how she get it. Made a couple racks, I never asked her how she get it. City girls love to have fun in the city. City girls love to have fun in the city. City girls love to have fun in the city. City girls love to have fun in the city.
Welcome to Connect with Christina, episode 6. I have another amazing guest, my personal friend, ex-professional basketball player, Jordan Noblitt.
Hey!
I said it right.
You said it right.
We were
Spot on.
practicing.
Yeah, you said it spot on.
Yeah.
Good job.
So since I know you, I love you, you're a dear friend. We go way back.
For sure.
But go ahead and tell our awesome viewers who you are.
My name is Jordan Noblitt. Like Christina, my dear friend, said, I'm an ex-professional basketball player.
Homie.
Do a lot of work with athletes with anxiety. Actually have a side business called Athletes with Anxiety. And all around good vibes. Just want everyone to be happy and succeed in life.
That is true. Other than DJ Hurd, you are also the person that reminds me about good vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a must.
So, and despite your cheerful, personality, we actually are here to dive into, some major, hard conversation. Yeah. So I hope you guys are ready for that.
For sure.
So, you've been very open, obviously, about mental health,
Correct.
anxiety, and depression. And I think that, especially after COVID, when more people felt isolated, I mean, it's just prevalent.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
Absolutely everywhere.
So, and then whoever is listening to this, that will be listening to this, either knows someone who has depression or they have it and they're hiding it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that.
I think everybody knows people that do have it, but they might not know they have it.
Correct.
If that makes sense,
And then some people don't know they have it.
Totally.
And some people know they have it and they feel like they have to hide it.
Yes. Because obviously the stigma, and people, I mean, we're in an era with social media. So many people are scared of what other people think.
Right. Yeah.
So people don't like being vulnerable.
Right. It's funny you just said that, afraid of what other people think. I think we all want to think that we're not afraid of what other people think, and we strive not to care.
Right.
But I think because we're humans, it's like almost natural, or you're framed. And so I, praise and respect people that don't care. And I'll start with my example. Even just like a couple weeks ago, or last Sunday, I went to a church. And I, unfortunately, I haven't been able to go to church, especially after my mom had passed away. As you know, I've been open about that.
Yeah.
I haven't really grieved her. I have a really bad coping mechanism. But I wanted to go to church.
Right.
And before this last time, I really couldn't go. Like I would walk through the door and just rush out. Or I would walk through the door and cry in the bathroom, and then these strangers will come and pray with me. This last time they taught us about not worrying about what people think when you're praising, so your hands up or just getting into it.
Yes.
And I have to admit that's me, because I'll hide in the back
In church, that's me too.
Yeah.
When I go, honestly.
So that whole don't worry about what other people think, we can try to say we don't. I mean, to a certain degree, some of us, when we level up in life, we do try to coach ourselves on not caring, but I think you'd be lying if...
Well, and I think part of you has to care what other people think with certain things.
Well, because you're being respectful.
Yeah, you don't want people to think, oh, this person's an asshole.
Right.
You want to be known as a person of your word, a dependable person. At least I do. But I think you should be able to be vulnerable with yourself and things you deal with and not worry what people think.
Right.
And that's where people tend to hide.
Yeah. Well, for the first time, I was like, what's happening to me? Because it was almost like the message was directly to me.
Yeah.
Because again, I would hide in the back, but inside I'm praising and inside I'm grateful, but I don't know, I'd be embarrassed. But now I was like, okay, let's go.
Well, and that's kind of, speaking of anxiety, it's kind of an anxious trait, because through school, obviously being very popular, whether it be high school, college, because I was an athlete, I was always sitting in the back. I would know the answers to questions teachers would have. I would not raise my hand out of embarrassment or fear of being wrong and then people laughing at me. Like, I was that person.
Well, I definitely want to dive into that, but I think I owe a shout out to Generation Church. Yes. Mike, too, from Snap Booth. Thank you for encouraging me to show up. You know, Mike.
Yes, and I want to go to church with you sometime.
Yeah, and then I also want to try Impact because my good friends also go there.
Right.
But like the last time I went, which I really need to start going, my grandma and my mom would be like, "It's only an hour." Like,
right?
You need, if you're going to make time for other things, you need to make time for
this. Because when we were
this.
younger, we look at, especially Sundays,
Yeah.
I got to go to church.
Right.
And
Yeah.
really, when you think about it, it is only an hour.
Right.
What is that in the
Yeah.
grand scheme of things?
Well, and then again, it's like, again, it kind of goes into this whole worrying about what people think. Even the other episode I just shot, it's like, people are like, no, not to be too religious, because it's a society that we live in. But at this point in my life, I have been able to have the opportunity to meet a lot of good people that are very religious and that some that are not at all.
Right.
And it comes down to like their character, what they say, what they do when no one's looking.
Totally.
So I've learned to be okay with being religious and being okay with people who aren't, because it's, I have to respect that,
And whatever makes them a better person.
Right.
I don't care if you're Muslim, Buddhist,
That is
Christian,
such
Catholic,
a good way to put it.
atheist. Whatever makes you a better person, I'm all for it.
Right. Yeah, I think that's huge. I want to dive into like what is in your, I guess, best way to explain, what in your best way to kind of go over what mental health is. Like, what is mental health issues? What is anxiety, depression? What is that?
So to me, I'm just going to dive into my own life. Mine comes a lot from my childhood. Not without getting like too deep into it, because that's a whole hours long thing.
He'll be back.
Yeah. I mean, I had a mom that had a brain tumor when I was in kindergarten, and when we came back from her surgery, her fiance left us a note saying, "I can't deal with this." So we were homeless. She also had to move us to Seattle for 6 months because she had a cocaine addiction, and that was rough. I saw her get physically abused. I had a stepbrother when she got remarried that used to chase me around with a knife while he was on acid, because he thought it was a dragon, and he'd stab the doors, and I'd have to hop out the window and run to my neighbor's house. But I was an only child.
How old were you during that?
This is like 3rd, 4th grade.
Okay.
But I'm an only child biologically to my father and my mother. My dad moved to Vegas when I was in 3rd grade, so I didn't get to see him as much. It was just me and my mom. I was scared to say anything to anybody. It's kind of like scared what people think. I don't want to get people in trouble, so I internalized it all. And I developed these nervous habits that I didn't know was anxiety. And then when I was 14, we were at dinner, and I got this wave, this rush. I'm like, hey, I got to go to my room. I crawled into bed and just started crying. I was freaking out. And at the time, the stepdad that I had, he's like, "I think you're having a panic attack." And that was the first one I ever had. And from then on, I had to deal with it, but I was scared to tell people. People would say, "Oh, what are you, weird?" That's what I'm thinking.
Right.
What's wrong with you? Are you mental?
Right.
And I dealt with it in college when we'd fly around the country to play other teams. I got teammates watching movies on laptops. I'm holding a pen or gripping my hands like, man, I just want to get there.
Right.
Like, freaking out constantly. My coaches didn't know. Teammates didn't know. Really, the only people who knew were my parents and my best friend. Shout out Eric Bowie.
Hi, Eric.
But those are the only people that knew, because I was scared what people thought. And it took until a couple of years ago, I had a nervous breakdown at 33, 34 years old. And at that point, I'm like, I need help. My dad came out here. He stayed with me. And we went to a psychiatrist. I found a therapist. And it's like, you know what? I just need to come out with all this, because I've been holding this in for so long. And my dad didn't even know how serious it was. It was, with him, it was, well, just stop worrying. You're okay.
Yeah.
When he saw me, he's like, this is real.
Right.
I get it now. And he sat in the appointments. So then I said, well, if I'm going through this, how many other people are going through this that I don't know?
Right.
Might even be friends of mine. And so I just decided to start coming out there with it, and it was like such a relief. And now I just love helping people. I still deal with it.
Right.
But yeah, it's a day at a time.
And I think too, like even on the, sometimes, I'll wake up with so much energy and I'll just, there's a routine when I wake up, and we'll get into that another time because it's
Right.
a whole routine. But when I start playing with my phone and I'm like just expressing certain thoughts and feelings that like I do, you'll be surprised at how many messages I get of, hey, I needed that.
Yeah.
Hey, you got me through today,
Yep.
I mean, to the point where I told you, they're like sending me, hey, can you post about this? Hey, can you talk about this?
Yes.
And it's like, and who am I? Like, okay. I mean, I feel honored that, people I don't know
Right.
about are like asking. And it's like that, even that little gesture, it's like to know that you uplifted someone by a
Totally.
message.
Because people will look at you from the outside and be like, here's this beautiful, successful woman. Her life is
stinks. Just kidding.
She's good. I remember posting about when Lamar Odom had that drug overdose in Nevada and all those strokes and stuff. I remember seeing people bash on him on social media. And I wrote this long paragraph on Facebook about my struggles with depression, anxiety, and how it's not funny to make fun of him for his struggles. I got so many DMs, and one was from this girl I went to college with. She said, I would have never guessed you dealt with this. On the basketball court, you were this confident person. You were always at parties. Everyone loved you. I would have never known. And she said, I deal with this.
Wow.
And thank you for putting that out there because I've never told anybody. And once you start seeing that, you're like, man, you can really impact some people. And we're all imperfect. We're all imperfectly perfect.
Right.
Or
Right.
perfectly imperfect.
Right to both. I mean, yeah, and I think like you mentioned social media. I mean, you think about how we're people that deal with this, it's already hard, and then you add all the social media stuff, and then now you have people comparing themselves to strangers.
Yes. And that's a beast because
Right.
those strangers are only showing you what they want to show you.
Right.
You
And
know?
I think that's all of us. And it's really, honestly, I mean, you shouldn't put your dirty laundry out there.
Yeah.
I do respect people that share stories to encourage other people. But, your the other stuff is for your dirty laundry. Keep that in the
Right. Well, you know how I personally look at it is we'll take Instagram, for example. It's a photo album at the end of the day.
Right.
Now, we all come from the generation, you and I, where we had physical photo albums we grew up with.
Right. I still have that.
Right. When you're opening those up, because I still have them,
Right.
how many of those pictures are of shitty times that you had? Really none. It's all like good memories.
That is such a good point.
And that's the same
so
thing that people do
true.
with Instagram, but now people take it as, oh, this person's life is perfect, instead of this is just a perfect moment.
Well, and some people do frame that as
Yes.
just and then that's the thing I tell a lot of people too. It's just like, just don't get caught up, because nowadays they'll rent out a toilet seat and put their face on it and make
Yeah,
it think
'cause everyone's
you're-
trying to
think that
monetize off
you're,
it now.
like flying to the Bermuda, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think it's really important to be aware that that's really not real.
Right.
And like, when you to be cognizant of what's real and what's not.
Yeah.
And that pressure of like constantly looking at yourself like, well, am I enough? Like, you shouldn't do that.
No,
You
that's
know?
where you get in trouble. And I mean, I've even been guilty of it. I see friends my age, buying their second home. It's like, I'm living in an apartment.
Right.
What am I doing wrong? What's wrong with me? Like, I think it's human nature to get,
Sure.
but you have to learn to check yourself.
Right.
And be like, wait a minute. No,
Right.
stop.
Well, and then, I think too, again, there is so much pressure though, because, people are posting. I mean, I was at Capitol Grill I think it was yesterday at lunch, and my favorite waiter there, Rocco, he said, this is kind of sad, but he said that things are happening where, people will go in the restaurant, order like a lobster soup, like
Right.
their famous lobster bisque, share it with 4 people. But the thing that he said is they take out the lobster and then put it on the plate and then zoom
Oh my God.
and make it look like they're having lobster at Capitol Grill. You know, so it's like that's just a little.
And I don't know if you've noticed this, but like I think it's Russia or Germany, and then there's even parts, of course, in Los Angeles, where they have these private jets on the tarmac, and you can rent out time to take pictures in the jet and then just leave.
No way.
Yes, and people are paying like thousands of dollars to take these little photo shoots in these private jets to look like they're doing. and I mean, that's just too far.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah. And I think so it's good that we're talking about that too, just because I think people forget that. You know,
Most
people
definitely.
forget. And like I mean, I don't know, some people that are like, oh, I'm not on social media. And I'm like, you know, that's peaceful. Mm-hmm. So, and we're pretty, you know, active in social media, but not that we're perfect at it, but I think we have a pretty good sense of the balance.
Yeah, because we're there kind of with a purpose. We're not aimlessly wandering through social media. It's like we want to help people, interact with friends, and be realistic.
Right. And that is true, because I mean, at the end of the day, like, you're one of those people. You see something, you go out of your way to screenshot it.
Yeah.
You know, even if you're not tagged, and then you share it, and then so that's like a good, you know,
For sure.
It just keeps coming back too.
Exactly.
So, but I mean, going back to just mental health in general, I mean, when people, I guess, come to terms with that, which I think is the biggest step.
Right.
What do you suggest that what the second step needs to be?
Well, I mean, the second step is I firmly believe you cannot get through it alone. You have to find a support system. Not everybody has tons of family or a group of friends. We all know people that are alone, but find a therapist, find somebody to talk to. You have to get it out, because if you just hold on to this, it's going to eat you up from the inside out. So you have to find somebody to talk to. Medication, you can go that route if you want. I fought it for a long time. I take it now. But I was actually influenced by the basketball player Kevin Love, because he said, you know, I didn't want to take medication. I finally took it. It saved my life.
Right.
I feel the same way. But seek help in any way you can. And for people that have access to my Instagram, I'll help a stranger. I've helped many strangers. Just talk to them. But you have to come out and get help.
Right.
Some way.
There's a therapist I came across on Instagram. It's such a good name. It's the Anxious Therapist.
That's perfect.
Her name is Kat. And I've been I've been following her and trying to share her message to people.
Right.
You know, if anyone wants to look her up. You know, very good person that's super passionate about like helping people.
Yep.
So the embarrassment part of saying you have mental health, I want you to kind of remind people not to be embarrassed about it.
And it is nothing to be embarrassed about. We all go through shit. It's really no different than, you know, if I break my foot, tear my ACL, it's an injury. It needs to help be healed. Now, you're not going to tear your ACL and be like, I'm going to hide this. I'm going to limp around. I'm not going to go see a doctor. You're immediately going to say, somebody take me to the doctor because there's something wrong.
Right.
It's really no different.
Yeah.
It's just people can't physically see it because it's in your brain.
Right.
And so I feel like that's the biggest obstacle for people to overcome, is just being able to say, I need to go get help.
I need help.
Yes.
Yeah, I need help.
And it's funny because once you do it, you realize people really don't care. It's more in your own mind.
Right.
And you think people care.
Most people want to help you.
Yes, and I often tell people all the time, when you walk in a grocery store and then we leave, if I was to say, what was the person in the bread aisle wearing? You'd be like, I don't know, I wasn't paying attention to him. It's the same thing.
I mean, if she was wearing like a last season, I'm kidding.
Yeah, just wear assless chaps. Okay, we're gonna probably notice her, but in general, you're not paying attention to other people like that. Mm-hmm. But we all think they are.
Yeah, I think too. That's that whole where we often say it, you know, and I know people like yourself, you really do live by this, is to try to be kind to people, even strangers, because you really truly don't know what they're going through.
For sure.
Like at all. I mean, think about, with you educating me too on a lot of this stuff, is you really think about how many people can barely come out of bed.
I have those days.
You know?
I had some this week.
Right.
Like I called my friend Justin. We know Justin, clearly. But went through an anxiety episode like the last 4 days, even some this morning. But you also have to realize it will pass.
Right.
One of my therapists told me one time, our anxiety is like water. It flows. So it'll come, it'll go, flow in, flow out. But you have to realize that you're not going crazy. You're not going to die. It's actually trying to help you, believe it or not.
Right.
That's a whole different.
I mean, even just those words alone, like I know this episode is going to help a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I know, like you said, a lot of people that even people we know could be dealing with this.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want them to know, like, one, they're not alone.
Yep.
And that you do get better, you know.
Totally.
And plus, anxiety or not, depression or not, we all have bad days.
Everybody has bad days.
Yeah. You just can't unpack there and live there forever.
Right. And don't find unhealthy coping mechanisms like drinking to deal with it. It's just going to get worse.
Right.
When I went through my nervous breakdown, I actually went 1.5 years without having a drink because I knew if I got caught up in that or that made me feel comfortable, that was going to take me down a path that I don't want to go down.
Right.
You know, and like I had an uncle die
But
of
I'm
alcoholism.
proud of you for recognizing
Yes,
that.
you have
know?
to. And that's another important thing is you've got to try and become really self-aware. You have to know your triggers. It's okay to say no to people. Mm-hmm. A lot of people stretch themselves thin
Right.
because they're scared to tell people no, and then they become stress cases over it.
Right.
Protect your energy.
Right. That is so true. I mean, and those bad days, I feel, make you appreciate the good ones.
How would we know what a good day is without a bad day?
Right. And then the other day we were talking about it, like, you know, like you said, we all go through stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think those moments, you know, remind us how human we are.
Yes.
And my dear friend Stacy was one of the ones I was talking to about this just recently, reminded me of that
Right.
it does. You're human. We're human.
Yeah.
And we go through stuff. And I think what's important though is, like you said, to know you're not alone, to get help,
Yep.
to not be afraid to get help. And I think for us as a community, just remember to be kind.
That's the thing. Be kind to everybody. Like, spread love. There's so much hate out there in today's world that just be kind to people. That's
Yeah, it doesn't cost you anything.
It doesn't cost you a thing.
Yeah.
And so I often say we're supposed to be kind to people because I don't care who you are. You could have been a criminal. You could be the nicest person in the world. We've all done stuff for somebody else, and you get an internal high off it when you see how you impact them. To me, that's proof that we're here on earth to serve one another.
Right.
You can't replicate that high.
That is true. Money can't buy that.
No.
So-
And how many people, we all know people with a ton of money that are fucking miserable.
Right. Yeah. You talked about, you wrote a big thing on like, where did you put it? Like on Instagram?
Facebook.
Facebook about,
Yeah.
what was it again?
So it was after the Lamar Odom drug
okay.
overdose and stuff.
Yeah.
I just came out with mine. Like, look, this is what I deal with. And I remember I was pretty pissed about it with people. And I think I put in there something like, if you're making fun of him, you're making fun of me.
Right.
So are you going to say
So
something?
I'm bringing that up because I have a confession.
Yeah.
So I don't use Twitter.
Right.
Everyone does. But I can't handle any more social media because I have Facebook and I have Instagram. I can't add.
It's a lot.
I can't. But do you remember Amanda Bynes?
Yeah.
And then obviously with Miley Cyrus.
Yes.
Like, so those are the only 2 times I used Twitter was because I had to go on there and defend them. And
Yeah.
you know, it's kind of funny to think about, like, even Leilani, my oldest daughter, is like, Mom, you got on Twitter for that? I'm like, yes. And after I explained it to her, she understood. But it was just because all I saw was like people ganging up on these people.
Right.
And framing them like they're the worst, you know, humans. And I'm like, guys.
And they already have a lot to deal with.
Right.
You
And
know.
so I know I'm afraid to look for what I wrote, but it was me like just backing them up.
Yes.
You know?
Exactly.
So
Protect people.
yeah, because I don't know. I feel like if if it was flipped, I would want someone to
Totally.
rise up and help.
Yeah.
You know,
and
me out.
my outlook is if everybody is kind to everybody, and I want everyone to succeed, if everyone's doing good in life, they're willing to help others. You know, you create a domino effect. I've said, how cool would it be if something this small, if one day in the United States, everybody opened the door for the person behind them, just one day.
Right.
That transfer of good energy would pass along.
It's so true. Yeah. I still I've not stopped doing this thing where every once in a while I'll pay for somebody in the back.
Yes.
You know, like at a
The
drive-thru.
pay it forward thing.
Yeah, and I still do it today. My kids know that. You
Yeah,
know,
it's big.
before I would post some of it because I wanted people to do it too, but
Mm-hmm.
I got so used to doing it I don't need to share it anymore. It's just a habit now.
Right.
You know, and sometimes it'll be a family and I'm like, "Oh, here goes 60 bucks," or sometimes $1.
Right.
You know, but that like it just like you just feel so good.
Yeah, because I remember a couple years ago. Obviously, I'm a sneakerhead.
Oh no,
Right.
really?
Right. So I had some shoes that I just didn't wear anymore. So rather than donate them to Goodwill or anything, I actually rode around when I was doing work, and I was just kind of looking for people that were in need. I found this guy in the street. I pulled over. I yelled at him, "Hey, what size shoe you wear?" He said a 12. I said, "Come here." And I just gave him basically a free pair of shoes. I'm
Right.
like,
Oh, I
rock
love
these.
that. I love that
but,
story.
you know, the other thing is don't film when you do that stuff because that makes people feel like shit.
Well, yes, but my and I agree because I had posted something about that. Like but then my other friend Justin Garian,
Mm-hmm.
he did say, I mean, there's like good and bad to everything
Correct.
because he did say he's like, you know what? Because I posted something about that because I
Yeah.
think it was about the homeless, and I was like, you know, you could say like you help, but you don't need to include their faces and all
Yeah,
that
if
stuff.
you're gonna film it, just cut off the face.
You
or
know,
something.
you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, but to the core of that, Justin Garian said, you know, Laguna, people take selfies all day. So it's nice when I see posts about helping other people.
Totally.
So I get that, but then you have to know how to do it, and not when
Yeah.
you're not exposing these people.
It's a
like,
fine line.
And I think like people are not dumb. They can see when you're being ingenuine, and you're just like, look at me, I helped someone. Look at me,
Facts.
versus you doing something and it just you know what I mean?
Yeah, just be genuine.
And then like that, when someone sees it, then they're like, what can I do today? You
Right.
know, what random act of kindness can I do today?
Exactly.
So yeah, even like with homeless people,
Mm-hmm.
who was I talking to about this? I said that maybe one of the times when we do community service is instead of maybe cleaning trash around, we could actually hold a sign for them.
Oh yeah.
Next door, like sitting next to them, you know,
Definitely.
because obviously some people are like, don't give them anything, they're gonna get drugs, this and that.
See, I look at it like this: if I'm giving something to a homeless person out of the generosity of my heart, it's not up to me what they do with the money.
That's how
If
I
they
feel
go buy
too.
drugs and alcohol, hey, that's on them. My heart was in the right place. I can't control that.
Right.
And that's just how I look at
Yeah.
that.
And I mean, I have learned to do other things like buy them food.
Yes.
Or like get them water. And trust me, I had one where he like chucked it back at me. I was like, okay, sorry. You know, so but I think like that if the intention is pure,
Yeah.
you know.
That's all that matters.
And then to go back into our topic too, like with mental health and stuff, and these pants, I keep playing with it. You can't edit that out. It's fine. I talk with my hands. Now I'm playing with my pants. Is that everyone goes through it. I don't care if
Yes.
you're a lawyer, a doctor, an athlete,
Yep.
a mom, you know, a homeless person.
I'll tell you, I had a teammate of mine at Cal State Northridge that called me about 4 weeks ago. We lived together. I always thought he's a California kid. I thought he was the coolest thing, you know. He calls me and starts asking, hey, like, when you have anxiety, do you deal with this? Do you deal with this? And he's like, I think I have anxiety. We've known each other for 15 years. I had no idea. And he's just coming out with it. Like, everybody goes through,
Right.
and it may not be the same, but
Sure.
everyone goes through it to a degree.
Right. I actually, I'm in personal injury space. I help people with car accidents. I had recently really got an opportunity to speak to a chiropractic office out in Santan.
Right.
It's Ironwood Chiropractic.
I know. I heard them.
Yeah, Dr. Butler and Janny, they have a unique story, and I can't wait to have them here. But it's crazy because in just a little bit of time I spent with them, they opened up my mind to how much your state of mind, your mental health, your emotion, your anxiety plays into a part of you, like healing and
Yeah.
and there was something that stuck with me with them, which was that they teach their patients to be able to sustain a certain lifestyle, emotional state, mental state post the accident, so that it doesn't just end there.
Right.
And that my favorite part was that they said they teach these people like, hey, you were in a car accident, yeah, it's crappy, but maybe this is a starting point for you.
Yep.
to recognize certain aspects of how precious life is,
Totally.
and to use it as a tool to be a better person. Not just okay, yeah, chiropractic care, they're gonna make you physically better,
Right.
but they institute other things like breathing, meditation.
It's so important.
He did this thing on me where it was like a bowl. I don't know how to explain to you. Oh my gosh.
Oh, sound wave. I did that when I was living in LA. I went to a house and did a whole sound wave thing. It was amazing.
Well, I mean, they just blew me away of how sincere they were and like how unafraid they were to talk about this other element. Like it's so their engagement with their patients are so much deeper than, oh, you were in a car accident, I'm gonna fix you up.
They care for them.
Right. And that, well, actually, when I met him, he blew me away too, because he was like, you have pain on your left side. That's your feminine side. You carry your weight of like my mom. And so he had me like lay down. I thought he was going to like adjust me.
Right.
And then he just did the sound wave, and I was holding my tears back because it was like
powerful.
It was an experience for me. And just, it's incredible when people put themselves out there and say, this isn't just a chiropractic place.
Exactly.
We're here to heal you mentally, emotionally, in every way. And like, so I saw like people are coming there way after their accident to maintain this.
Yeah.
And it's almost like this whole journey of, I want to be a better person.
Exactly.
And they're there to help.
Exactly.
So,
because I'll look at it, I'll even tell myself, maybe God gave this to me is a privilege because he knows I can handle it.
They said
and
that.
I can help others with it.
Right.
And my shout out to Bowie again, but he tells me all the time, he's like, God gives his hardest battles to his strongest angels. So if you can try and wrap your head around like, maybe this is a privilege because God thinks that highly
That's
of
what
me.
Dr. Butler and Jenny said, that this is, I know it's hard, but this could be a blessing.
Yeah.
A
lot of other people can't handle it.
So I know we have to go, but and I said that 5 times. So thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah.
We do have some presents from our sponsor. Again, Glam Squad, Superstition Glam Squad. Thank you. You get to take home I'm going to keep the middle one for Vanessa Ramirez when she's back on the show. But I don't think you want the girly stuff. You'll get to keep the boy stuff.
Hey, Glam Squad.
Amy, you're amazing. And Jordan, continue to inspire other people. Thank you for being our Connect with Christina, a.k.a.
Clap God.